fucking love it already, right? When you're doing general views around a place, there's an idea, like a comedic idea about a photographer who takes a half-burned child's doll to photograph in settings, to make it look worse than it is. But this is a little documentary, and already I'm seeing the craft of the documentary maker in the scene setting of these shots. I really like it. I like shots like this, and they are good. So I'm happy with that. This is 8 minutes in though, so I should go back to the start really, shouldn't I?
This is the story of Lily Bank, and of every Lily Bank in Europe. Tonight we highlight one woman's attempt to find out for herself.
Obviously it's not very recent.
What it's like to be part of the fourth world. She shed her middle-class identity. She became an impoverished widow calling herself Mrs. Cathy Price. And for 3 months, she went to live in poverty.
Oh, I love it.
In a place called Lily.
Like, I know it sounds a bit pretentious to be like, I shed my middle-class identity. I went to live with the poor people. And this is a bit back in the day, but what they're doing there is called... so in sociology, you can make reports on people. Like you can do a thesis. You can write your ideas, and you can observe people. So that's observing people, and you can be an observer, and you can be what's called an overt observer. So you can go and do some observation. Like instead of getting them to fill out questionnaires, you can go and sit with them and like note down what they're doing. Like you're doing a study. Let's say I'm doing a study on swimmers. I might go to the swimming club and I might talk to all the swimmers and ask them all questions. And instead of like giving them all a questionnaire is a form of taking data, but you can do what's called observation. So you go and do that. And then you make your own notes, yeah? And then you can do is you can become a swimmer and you can not tell them what you're doing. And that's called covert observation. And you do it secretly. And the idea is that the swimmers are not, like when you're there watching all the swimmers and asking questions, they're all on their best behaviour. But when you actually become a swimmer, you see it from the inside, And so this is a really cool setup, although there is a little bit of added air of, a sad truth of the, air of pretentiousness about the idea that I will live with the poor people and see what it's really like for a poor person, and then I'll go back to my lovely castle. But like, it is cool. This is
Bank.
Mrs. Price came here, and she had nobody. She never knew anybody, and she came to me. She shut my door, and I brought her in. Well, she was lonely. She was only on her own, and I think she was just.
I'll tell you this much: when she got up the stair, I mean, when the woman did go up the stair, there was nothing in the house at all.
Oh, scandalous.
She had only a bed and a wee sort of a table and a typewriter, I think.
That was all. She had nothing. She had nothing.
She had something, I don't know what it was, a typewriter.
All she had in that house, if you want to know, was a single bed, a typewriter, and one chair. That's what she had up the stair.
Can you understand what they're saying? In chat, can everyone understand what they're saying? Because it is Scottish. It must be Scottish, mustn't it? Like, obviously I can understand what they're saying, but like, I know we've got Americans in. I don't want to push through like a long drawn out process of you not understanding any of it. There's no captions either. It's like a snapshot in time, isn't it? I'll tell you what I love about this as well, and I hope to do more of ourselves as a team going forward, is you don't realise it at the time, but when you look back on it, like at the time this would have just been a bit of a documentary about something real that was happening, talking to people of the time in the day, but looking back on it is like a real like time capsule, isn't it? He's got his cigarette, newspaper.
That's all the woman had.
Cathy Price was in fact the pseudonym adopted by one of the most eminent social workers in Britain, Kay Carmichael, senior lecturer in social work and administration at Glasgow University, deputy chairman of the Supplementary Benefits Commission, and one-time member of Harold Wilson's Downing Street think tank. There, her task was to speak for the poor and the underprivileged, for the fourth world.
I'll tell you what, I've got a massive admiration for her insofar as she doesn't, like, you do not see someone in that position politically or socially or, whatever. Have you heard of a top bureaucrat in social work world or government actually go and fucking live in the house? Like, actually go and live in the house for 3 months. Like, you just don't hear of it. Now, I know she's doing a study and she's probably got government money to do her study, and she's probably like, you know, writing a paper, and there's all this other, like, you know, added like edge to it that makes you think, oh, it's all right for you, you know, living in your house for 3 months and then going back to the palace. But like, you just don't, I've got a lot of admiration for her there, like, for actually doing the work, like saying, I'm in charge of this job looking out for poor people, so I better understand what poor people are doing then, huh? So I'm going to go straight there and live there. I think that's good.
Then she got a sabbatical from Glasgow University, a term's leave in effect to work on her own. She could have gone to distant and exotic places to study deprivation at first hand. Instead, she chose the jungle on her own doorstep, in the city where she lived, but not just to study poverty, to experience it.
I wanted to experience, because I think that, at the end of the day, is the only way really to know something.
How is she going to experience it fully though? Because you know, 3 months. Like, it reminds me of these films, isn't it? Like, isn't there like a film like this where it's like, yeah, you know, got to, you know, you know, isn't it? Or it's a song. It's pulp, isn't it? It's Common People. You want to live like the common people. You want to do whatever common people do. You want to search for the common people.
Is to have a feeling experience of it as well as an intellectual one. But there was another level at which I was involved, and for which it was a personal journey for me, and that was that in going into the East End of Glasgow, I would be going back, in a sense, to my own childhood.
Bless.
I took a taxi.
I was going to say, how is she going to shake off the accent? Like, aren't there going to be certain things that make her sound and stand out? Like, first of all, she's got quite a snazzy haircut. You don't get lovely snazzy haircuts when you're poor, do you? You have to have a bowl put on your head and just have it chopped round in a circle. And the accent and the clothes and stuff.
And I took with me my radio, my tape recorder, a few books, and a change of clothes. And absurdly, I left this house clutching a sweeping brush. And that really was a very primitive kind of response. And that was really going back to my early childhood, and with a grandmother whose automatic instinct in any new house that she moved in, or anywhere she was, in fact, was to clean the house.
Kay Carmichael had known the East End of Glasgow in her childhood. She was brought up in a tenement there by a grandmother who left a deep impression on her.
I tell you something, this is a snapshot in time as well, because I think back then you could probably go back and live in the, you know, the more impoverished areas as a single lady like that and do your little study. But I think these days, I think if you've, like, you know, the more deprived areas of Glasgow now, and you went, like, if that lady went and moved in on her own, like, and just, you know, knocking on doors, hello, I'm your new neighbour, I wondered if I could ask you some questions, like, they'd be like, fuck you. It's not like you think. It's not like it's the same. It's not the same these days.
Her name had also been
a bit more dangerous, I think.
Cathy Price.
I don't know.
Now, you took on the identity of your grandmother, Mrs. Cathy Price.
I took on her name.
Not her identity?
Well, I don't think I could. She was a remarkable lady. And I think perhaps I borrowed some of her strengths in that situation. She had been left a widow just after the First World War, and she brought my mother and her 3 sisters up in a room and kitchen.
She looks a little bit tougher than you.
In Shettleston Road. And she was really the most important person in my life, because in my early childhood my mother went back to live with her, and she gave me the kind of mothering and caring that I think gave me whatever strengths that I may have. My mother had to go back out to work.
Oh, no, don't go anywhere, Kat.
And she looked after me when my mother was away.
So this was also an odyssey of self-discovery.
Yes.
As well as an academic exercise.
It was an exercise in discovering how I would be in a situation where my structures were taken away from me, how it would be for me to be poor.
Right, that's not what I thought it was about. That's a far more selfish. I thought Because she's like some special advisor to some minister or something on like these issues of how to deal with the poor, yeah? And so she grew up poor, she should know what it's like. What it should be about is her studying what other people are doing in their situations and how they're living and reporting back. Not like a sort of introspection on how I can tough it out, like, you know, what it meant to me. But yeah, it's interesting, I suppose, because you count as a person, so your own personal anecdotal experience does count. But I thought the whole point of the thing was to go and find out what other people were doing.
You know, how would I survive?
But I'd have
How did
thought
they
that
survive?
you knew more than most already about poverty because you are deputy chairman of the Supplementary Benefits Commission.
Well,
This is
sitting around-
that's like such a savage irony, like, you know, sitting in your beautiful armchairs with your statue of like Ming the Merciless or whoever, and you like, yeah, I think you would know a lot about poverty because you're deputy chairman to the Commission for the Impoverished. That like, no, you know fuck all about it because you don't have to live it, but like you do now know a bit because you went and lived it, got it. Still got a very nice haircut.
The table in London is not quite the same kind of thing. And certainly I can read the statistics that are produced and
But I admire her for
look
this.
at, you know, household expenditure surveys. But that is a very different matter, I think, from,
Yeah, she's
from
right here.
actually trying to do it yourself.
True.
The place
I know.
where Kay Carmichael
I would
tried
say
to do it.
that before they should be allowed to set the budgets for the families and all that, you know, when they do the budget, maybe the Arch-Chancellor of the Exchequer or whatever, you know, maybe the Chancellor should have to live on that fucking budget for a couple of weeks and decide if it's enough.
Herself is a local authority housing scheme of 534 homes. Each entrance, or close as they call it in Scotland,
You know what I mean? They should have to live on the average, like whatever. Do you know what I mean? Instead of imposing things on people and then they don't have to fucking care. Like, I know the budget. Listen, I know the budget isn't like a household budget, and they set the amount of money every household gets. It's the budget is for the nation and the setting of taxes, and the Bank of England is separate with their interest rates. But like, they should have to live in this. Like, this shouldn't be a one-off that this lady did it like sort of 70 years ago or whatever. This should happen regular.
leads to 6 flats, mostly 3 apartments with kitchen and bathroom. Lilybank was born in optimism over 40 years ago on green fields to provide a new decency and dignity for the casualties of the Depression in Glasgow.
I'm here 44 years. It was a beautiful place at first. The greatest place in the world to stay.
It's Billy Connolly when he was young.
Well, the great people, nice winds and everything, nice people.
This was farmed land.
That's Libby when he was young.
We come up to this place. It was country.
A fucking horse. I didn't expect to see a horse. It's quiet. These places are different now.
You can meet off these clothes as well.
Like, if they still exist, they're different. You know, like drugs and crime and stuff is different these days, isn't it? Like,
You can meet off these clothes as off these stairs, and there were big families. 14 in here. There was 10 down the stair and 10 next door to that. There was over 40 children in this close at one time.
fucking hell.
Over 40. That was before I was married. This was a great place.
It was a great place, a great community, and on the surface you might think it still is a tidy urban housing scheme. Indeed, the houses are just being modernised at a cost to Glasgow of some £4,000 each.
It
But
doesn't look too
behind-
bad. The thing that I think is most important, though, that people don't seem to recognise, especially in urban planning, because there's a lot of urban, you know, everywhere you live, you'll look around, you'll see new houses going up. But on all these new housing estates they put up, like whether they're commercial or public or private or whatever, like they're seemingly lacking in community centres. Like, you might get a pub every now and then, or like a betting shop, but like, you know, I'm looking for, like, you know, as amongst, when you build something like this, you should also build a couple of like community facilities as well, shouldn't you? Like, there's a lot of people going to be there, so stuff for them to, like, you interact with and do that's positive in their lives, like gyms and social clubs that surround sports clubs, like swimming pools, facilities like that. Like I always see, like in this planning, and sort of like houses, maybe some amenities, i.e. a shop, but like where's the social cohesion come from? It ends up in the pub or spilling out into its own. You have to do it yourself, I suppose, don't you? But I'd like to see some, especially in modern planning now, when we had talk of levelling up in our country, didn't we? Which never happened, but that's what it requires. It requires investment into social grassroots projects like that grow the community sense, like the sense of community.
The facade, Lilybank is now a profoundly depressed area.
Oh, the rough rafts, so the day comes up here. They'll come up here, I don't know where they come from, but it's the last place on earth, this is.
There you are, look, sticks. Out with your sticks. There's your broken tellies. That's the football ground. And that's the problem, isn't it? If you built something here that was like a community centre that employed people, and so it provided jobs and entertainment and things, like, there'd be people there doing things, working there. You can't just provide housing for people. You also want to provide opportunity as well, don't you? I'm really interested now, just to quickly see, just YouTube it up. What's this place called? Lilybank. I just want to see Lilybank. I wonder if there's anything more modern that I can have a little look at. Four, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. This is someone driving about in Lilybank. So it's been more modernised. This video is called Driving in Glasgow, Newbank, Lilybank and Bradeford, June 2021. Let's go for a spin. So that's who I'm watching here. I don't know which bit is Lilybank, which bit's Bradeford or whatever, but it looks like it's continued in the same sort of vein. There's more modern council buildings or housing. Like, there's still the older buildings that have been there, aren't there? But they've been modernised, new windows and fittings and stuff like that. There's cars passing, it seems a little bit more busy and populated in these areas. It doesn't look like it's, like, in all those years since that documentary and now, like, not loads has changed in terms of it's still a seemingly quiet housing estate, I suppose. I don't know where this is, but this is what I expect to see. You see, I always see, like, little shops, and, we've got them at my roads, my way. A few little shops, like a one-stop and something like that, but it's not just commercial buildings that provide opportunities to local people, is it? It's through social spending as well. They've got a pharmacy, little high street. I don't know which bit this is, which bit, where we are. But yeah, it just looks like a fairly normal sort of UK-based housing estate. I suppose you're not going to see. I don't know, like, if these days these places like Lilybank is somewhere that I would get, like, in trouble, or whether it's safe. I know there are some parts of Glasgow that you probably wouldn't want to just go wandering about, messing about. Don't know where they are though. It's like the same in Liverpool. Like, it's funny with Anfield, because, like, you park up the car and go up, like, watch football at Liverpool. But just in that area is some quite dangerous areas, really.
At one time they were putting people into the scheme, and the sanitary lady that used to come round objected to it. They were putting the scum of Glasgow into it then, and she stopped coming round, seeing that the houses were all clean. Am I right, Isa?
It's really interesting hearing those voices, and obviously those ladies are probably gone now, aren't they? Like, yeah, it's interesting.
Litter of all kinds. The front windows facing onto the street were all broken, 5 of them. And what had happened was that the local children, very reasonably, had been using them as target practice for stones. And they, in the weeks to come, they continued to practice in this way. And at regular intervals, I would hear a clatter of even more glass breaking in the front room, which I wasn't able to use at all.
I took a lot of that.
Really did. I don't know how that woman slept. You know, it was winter time when she came in.
And they went in the living room. A single bed just lay up and down there and she hadn't a window.
You know,
Yes.
half of the windows was it. You know, I wouldn't say they were all, but half of them was it.
Kay Carmichael had calculated that a destitute widow like Cathy Price would qualify for an exceptional needs payment of £140 with which to set up house in Lilybank.
Yeah, but good luck these days if you need qualified for anything, getting it within 6 weeks. By the time you fucking get what you qualified for, in my experience, I might as well have fucking, like, well, there were times like where it was really like tough, and I did qualify for like carer's allowance. That was actually eventually came in, but like the money doesn't like just like flow like free money. It's not like that. Like you should probably want to sit in that bedroom for fucking 2 weeks before you get your check. And you're lucky you've got a bedroom to sit in. But like, I'm surprised by those people throwing stones through her windows, but maybe they knew who she was and what she was doing and they just fucking fucked up her windows. I don't know. This is the local shop though, like I say, you've got one of these.
So that was a limit she set herself. But she had to change more than just her standard of living. In order to be accepted, she also had to learn to look and sound and feel like a woman of Lilybank.
Integrate.
I watched what people wore, and I watched how they walked. And I listened to what they said. The most interesting discovery in that was how people walked. Because if you get the profile of someone, there are significant social class differences between the way they carry themselves. And in fact, all the time I was living in Lilybank, I had to make an effort to walk differently, to hold my body quite differently.
I was going to poo-poo this a bit, but actually I feel like it's a very reasonable observation in the same way she said those kids throwing stones through her windows was reasonable. In observation of behaviour, especially social behaviour, I would say you would be looking at, it's kind of weird to say it, like behaviour might not include the way someone walks, like off the cuff, but it kind of does, doesn't it? It is a form of behaviour. Body language and stuff like that. I'd be looking for more patterns of behaviour in different ways, but in her ability to assimilate, she's incorporated the posture of the people around her. It's quite interesting, that is. You think it was 1970, Sally says. Certainly looks like it was. I mean, I don't know. 70s, it says, someone in chat, so yeah. Someone in their comments.
To slump. Not
to slump and slouch, right? There's different reasons though as well. I think if you walk like cock of the hoop, like poppycock, cock of the hoop, like stride, like things are going well and everything, like you might stand out. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing in certain situations. But again, I don't know what the levels of like gang violence and crime were like on these estates when this was filmed in the 70s, and I don't know what they're like now, but I know that there are some, like I said, some changes in the way our poverty traps operate these days.
to hold myself erect, to look a little bit defeated, so that I deliberately learned how to look rather worried most of the time. It meant I had to look at the kind of clothes I wore. It meant I had to look at the way I got my hair done and cut.
Yeah, true that.
My makeup.
True all that, but to her it's like playing a game of, like, you know, you want to live like common people. Like, it's like that song, isn't it? You know, you could call your dad, you could stop it all here. You know, watching roaches climb the wall. But if you called your dad, you'd stop it also. You'll never live like common people. You'll never feel however common people feel. Like, it just, like, it feels like Jarvis Cocker wrote his song after watching this documentary.
to really examine all the kind of middle class techniques and structures
Wait,
that
I'm
I
saying
use.
my thing still says I'm Genshin Impact streamer, so I should change that to it says in prison and Genshin Impact. I should change that to just chatting, reacting, just chatting and reacting, just very vague. That's fine. Carry on.
In order to present a certain image to the world. My voice, very important.
Yeah.
Because, again, I have learned
That you talk like
that
you got
if
a
you
plum in
say
your mouth.
something in a certain way, something usually happens. People pay some kind of attention to it.
So you had to learn Parliamo Glasgow.
I actually suffer from this. I can't really pitch my own. Like, a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, you speak posh," and I thought, shit, I don't want to stand out sounding like I'm posh. Like, there is definitely some situations I've been in my life where I've done exactly what she said as well. Like, you know, adopted the more you know, assimilated into culture a little more and tried to not seem so actually, I'm not really one for that. I am more one for just speaking myself, being who I am and being in a different situation. But there are times, like I said, like where you feel like vulnerable in situations and you kind of don't want to stand out as being like some like strange posh boy in a cat jumper.
Yeah.
I had to learn to go back in terms of my own.
I'll tell you what, this is, you know, I was saying about going out and live streaming with a, like out and live streaming. I think in tourist centres, live streaming like that, fine. But I think general walking around life, like just wandering around, like having a big arrow on your head that says like, you know, potential victim. I don't know if that's such a good idea in some of the places like where I generally wander about and hang out in the course of my life over the years. I don't know, yeah, it's interesting.
Experience and try to remember the sounds, intonations that every Glasgow working class child has to use.
Can you give me an example of how you spoke?
I can't. I think it would be quite artificial and dishonest to do that. It took me about 2 weeks to get my ear tuned and my voice tuned.
Well, they must have all known what was going on.
And
like the people on that estate are not stupid. Like that woman said, you know, about her moving in and what she had in her house and all that. Like, they're not stupid. Like, they would have known something was going on. Like, that's probably why the kids smashed all the windows in.
In fact, it was an astonishing experience to be walking in a street in your own city where you have lived virtually all your life and not to be able to understand what the children were saying.
Me and my wee pal walked up to get chips and that, and there was this guy in the chippy, eyeing us up, so we started eyeing him up and that. And when we got our chips, we walked out.
It's Limmy.
Chip shop, and he didn't buy nothing.
This one's King Jad VC. Actually, he's a bit younger than this, isn't he? How old's Limmy? Limmy's younger than this as well. It's one of them's Limmy and one of them's King Jad.
So he comes running out, grabs his toys, flings me into the licensed grocer's shutter.
Flings me into a grocer's. He went to get chips and someone flung him into a grocer's shutter.
Outside, flung him on the road, he got kicked in the head, and then
Got
he
kicked in the
ran.
head.
And I was starting getting full bricks.
Kicked in the head?
In the head and all that, it's Britain.
For Kay Carmichael, life as Mrs. Cathy Price in the fourth world of Lilybank was a lonely and harrowing experience. She was seeing it as social workers seldom do.
It's hostile and it's ugly. And there were times here I would go back to the house and my eyes would literally be hurting with the pain of never having anything beautiful to look at, of everything being dissonant and difficult.
I mean, this is so true, and that's the music of the like late 70s, early 80s, like Joy Division and like Black Sabbath, like early metal. Like, that's what it came from. Like, the reason Joy Division sounded the way they sounded is because everything around them was made of shit concrete, and like they rehearsed in a fucking like. Literally, they rehearsed in an old desolate building, but there was a positive to that for like sound, like literally, like the literal choice of their sound because of the way the building sounded in their rehearsal, but also, like, yeah, like this. So we'll do it. I mean, we're already a copyright nightmare, aren't we? So I'm already a copyright nightmare. Wait, YouTube it.
Back in the day, we named it cookie dough.
Shut up. You're not finished? No, still talking about cookie dough. Fucking. Right, here we go. So there you go. Yes, she's made a very astute observation. However, the way she's made it, it sounds so patronisingly middle class. There's nothing beautiful for me to look at. What about the children? What about each other? What about like finding some joy in the world? Like, this is why these cultures had to create their own, and like this is why it's so culturally insensitive to be like erasing graffiti or I find it very strange that you have like local councils put flower beds and things in, and like you have this community area, and then the local council is part of the community, I suppose, so they get the choice. But like you know, community consult, where is all this investment in the rest of the environment? It's just houses and barren land. You're right. Yeah, your eyes hurt from not having anything beautiful to look at. If only they had a Madame Butterfly opera vinyl and a painting by El Greco, then all their problems would be solved of an evening.
And it's as if the whole world is hostile, that there's nothing that comforts you.
Yes.
And
yes, welcome to the... Like, yes. Like, the thing is, right, it's... I don't know if she votes... I don't know what the political system was here, you know, whether she was Labour or Tory or anything like that. But, like, that is the system. They don't live in it, the political elites. We do. It's as if the whole world is hostile. Have you not tried to fucking, like, make ends meet of a week? Never. Right, so you don't know what it's about then. You'll never live like common people. Yes, it is a lot like the whole world is hostile sometimes, yes. Like, it doesn't have to be. I try my best to be, like, you know, positive, like, polite, nice person. I live in quite a nice town as well, so I'm quite lucky. But I've seen the hostile places, and I've seen the people who feel they need to be hostile because the world around them is hostile. It comes from social deprivation, it comes from lack of public funding, and it comes from this poverty trap.
this is why a place like the park is so important, because that's one place in the world that's got something beautiful in it. You know, there are flowers and there's a bit of ordinariness.
Yeah, but if you go down the park, then you're going to get harassed by drug dealers and, like, you know, beaten up by some rando. 6 tramps hiding in a bush, like what?
In the world. Now, this world in which we're walking just now is a world where there doesn't seem to be any pattern for anything that's going on.
Except debris.
Debris, dirt, rubbish, and there is no way in which you can take anything for granted about life. I mean, you can't trust anything that happens. And of course, this is the essence of a hostile environment.
How did you find consolation?
I went to the park and I went to the library, and libraries are so important if local authorities are in.
Well, that's fucked up. You shouldn't be doing that, should you? She's not living the life. I mean, yes, the library's important, and I agree, but do you think these kids are going to the library, like the ones running around behind you with their sticks? Like, you can't say I went to the library. Like, you were supposed to be living the fucking, you know, you were supposed to be living it. You were supposed to be feeling the same as these people. You were supposed to either be necking gin on a doorstep, or like going down the local boozer or some shit. I don't know, playing. I was going to say playing bingo. I don't know if they had bingo halls then, but doing whatever everyone else was doing. You don't see many of your peers from that street up the fucking library, do you?
Particularly as a way of giving children opportunities. But the children here, you see, can't use that library very freely because, in fact, the territory between here and the library is like enemy country that they've...
Oh, God, there's that. Yes, they did have that sort of stuff going on back then, absolutely. They can't use the library because the gang warfare precludes it. Well, maybe they don't want to. I wish I could use that library if only I didn't have to be involved in this gang warfare. Like... They're not interested in the fucking library, are they?
Got to make their way through.
When you get done that,
Give them a football facility, give them like a proper sports club with some pride in their, coaching, and you can instill some values into these young people. Like boxing club, football club. Like, I'm not trying to be patronising myself either here and say, oh, youth from working class estates can only play football. There is a library. Some people may want to use it, but for the mass majority out there, like, they want to play sports out in the open. They're having fun running about. Like, you can see their lifestyle already. Like, it doesn't cost a lot to have a football, does it? Like everyone enjoy. Like, it's a working class pursuit, football. It's like fun. Like, and people enjoy it. They get a lot of social positive cohesion out of it, and then they can even succeed in a career in better themselves, but it will also teach them discipline, stuff like that. That's just one example. You could have music clubs, teaching people with instruments, allowing them to use them. Education is far and wide. It doesn't have to just be sitting in a school and reading books. I mean, this is the 70s, so I guess I'm got the benefit of hindsight, but it seems weird, doesn't it, that you wouldn't just have you've got all these people hanging around and they've got a problem because they haven't got anything to do, and underprivileged. Well, just invest then. The people are there. The weird thing about it is that if you were to invest a load of money, when someone like Elon Musk goes to build a factory, he looks at some different factors, and one of the factors they will look at is the population, whether there's enough people to go and work in the factory. Not so much these days because they're going to do it with robots, but where are the people with the skills? It's hard sometimes to get it's like people are. It sounds bad because it's almost like being brutally capitalist, but people are our resource, and here there is a resource, and naturally, or artificially occurring one. You put them in all these houses. Now you could be building things nearby that could really accentuate and it's that lack of social investment. That's what it is. That there are all these people and they could turn into these really productive, really good people, and instead they're just fucking turfed out onto the streets and just doss about.
parked in there, Westbourne Park, you get chased with all the rebels and you end up fighting with them. And if you got that park up there, Tulsos Park, you end up fighting with all the Tolex, me man. Then if you hang about here, stun their clothes or something, you get to jail for loitering. Play it thick or you get to jail for disturbing the peace or something.
There's nothing to do at night time, and there's no parks or nothing. When you get to a park, you always get battered with the gangs and all that.
When you go to the park, you always get battered with the gangs and all that. I think that would have changed nowadays. I think it'd be a bit more dangerous, but fighting, I see what she's saying. And there's nothing to do. There's just stood there in front of a burned out car. So it seems really obvious, doesn't it? I don't know why that woman had to go and live in a house for 3 months to work this out. Build some fucking stuff there. Build them, stuff. They can work in the shops. They can work in the restaurant. They can work in the places. That'll give them some monies. They can spend it in the places. It's you've built half a bit of a town, but you haven't built the rest of it. And I'm not just saying shops. I'm saying social projects. It's the thing that makes our societies accelerate the most. When we give it away for free, education at school. When we give away school for free, it really helps, doesn't it? And there's extra stuff on the side as well that you can do that doesn't have to just be school. It seems insane to me. They still, and I'm saying this, around my local estate up the road, they have got certain youth clubby sort of facilities and there's certain options, but it's still just there's a pub, there's some shops, and attached to the school there's a sort of common room that people can use for little classes every now and then. But where's the investment in the society? It's a shocker to me, actually, because it seems like such an obvious fix that this little girl's pinpointed it. There's nothing to do. I'm stood here and I'm useless, like, for all intents and purposes. I could be really useful. I could do something in the evenings, like.
Or fights and all that.
You end up doing bad things in here. Oh, you're right, it drives you to do
I'll tell you
that.
what, they've all got really good haircuts for people who haven't got good haircuts. I thought they didn't have good haircuts, but they've all got really good choppy haircuts. This guy's got a bit of a fringe going on with the bowl, but they've all got good haircuts.
I'm telling you.
You're right there. And at night time there's an awful lot of stolen motors and you can't get to sleep for them. And they bring them here and they burn them for nothing. They're brand new motors as well.
Can you tell me how this car got here?
Yeah, a couple of lads stole it from up there. Just brought it right down here, burnt it. So we just used it for a den, that, no? It's not bad really for sitting in it, no. Smoking, no.
Like gas.
Like gas, drinking.
Has this happened quite often, cars getting stolen?
Aye, maybe.
And do the police do anything about it?
We can't catch them.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, that's the car. He stole that particular car. He's having a laugh. I wonder what he got up to in his life. You know? I wonder what he got up to.
Yeah.
If you did steal a car, would you know how to drive it?
Aye.
How do you know how to drive a car?
Because you get learned. Some of the big boys learn you to drive and that.
Some of the big boys learn you to drive in that.
They're in motors. You just take shots in the street and that.
We just take shots in the street and that. The voice sounds like Limmy's Lemon Bonbons. Why is it not coming up with it? Limmy. Maybe it's somewhere else. Where's Limmy's school? It would. What was it called? It was called like. He did like a radio thing, and it was. Surely, come on. Limmy Lemon Bonbons. He did a little boy's voice and he was like, "He's took my lemon bonbons. It's my lemon bonbons." It's like a whole thing he did about his lemon bonbons. Shuck. Where's the lemon bonbons? Wait, it's Limmy himself. Look, Limmy himself. Playlists. It'll be on playlists, won't it? Webcams, Limmy Show, Vines, Vlogs, Ancient Sketches, Ableton playing games. Like, what? What? Where's the original? Where's the original? It was a series of different characters from Glasgow. But it's not here, I can't find it. It's fucked up, that is. I can't remember what it was called. Damn it. Damn it.
And they just say, you're passed. No, it's just like a driver's lesson or something. It's not bad, really.
And if you jump about the other, yeah, you end up sniffing glue and all that. Smashing windies. Go to jail for what? Street walking and all that and all. Screwing motors.
Shut up, you.
You boy.
Dog wants in it.
Oh no, there's a cover boy.
Dirty boy.
The aggression in small children frightened the life out of me. To see two under fives really attacking each other quite viciously without any of the modifications that one normally expects. You know, even with two puppies playing, you get all kinds of ritual observances. And it was as if these small children hadn't had the kind of socialization experience that let them know there were limits to their interaction.
I was last and they're still fighting back. Well, there were about 4 of them, about 17, 18. That. No, that was all right till Crossmob, because they had the motor sitting outside around the corner, waiting for them to get away. So, nothing we could do. Our boys were sitting in the back here, drinking and that. Nothing else we could do. No, but so, we all ran round there, ran up the railway, and we seen the motor. So we just smashed the motor up. And then they all came up, so we just started a fight.
Went round, they smashed the motor up, and so they started a fight. Nothing you could do, really. Fuck, they are just smashing the windows in, look.
I saw the potentiality in these children, both for creativity and for destructive behaviour. To see a little girl, for example, as I did one day, sitting, working with a kind of pile of dirty earth and trying to make a pattern with broken bits of stone. And
what a wonderful metaphor. Look, it's obvious, isn't it? Like, I don't have to tell you the Department of Planning and like fuck, man. Like, the other thing that does my head in, you're going out again, Kat. That does my head in. I'll tell you the other thing that does my head in is that they're doing this interview afterwards, but what are the kids doing? Are they presumably still playing in bits of stone and banging around on the cars? Like, did it get fixed? Like, the follow-up is her in her nice house, not like them with their social improvements. Like, I'll have to watch the whole thing at some point, won't we? We'll have to, you know, have another look back into this. But I think I've done a bit of a chunk of this now. So I'm like, you know, cut that for YouTube maybe.